Imagine standing alone on the surface of the moon, not in a dream, not in a science fiction movie, but for real. Beneath your feet lies a layer of gray dust, dry, cold, and almost completely undisturbed for billions of years. Every step leaves a clear footprint on that ancient ground. And if no one touches it, if no small meteorite strikes that exact spot, that footprint could remain there for an incredibly long time, longer than many of the greatest structures humanity has ever built on Earth. You look around, and before you stretch impact craters reaching all the way to the horizon. Some are small, like scars on the surface, while others are enormous, like ancient bowls carved by violent collisions in the distant past. Farther away stand jagged gray mountain ranges, motionless beneath the sunlight. Everything is still, cold, and so silent that it almost feels unreal. There is no wind, no crashing waves, no birds singing, no rustling leaves. If you were to shout, your voice would not carry the way it does on Earth, because the moon has almost no atmosphere to transmit sound. But the strangest thing is not beneath your feet. It is above your head. You look up and see a sky that is completely black, not blue like daytime on Earth. There are no clouds drifting slowly by, no crimson sunsets, no gentle light scattered through the atmosphere. Even though the sun is shining intensely across the lunar surface, the sky above you remains as black as an abyss. That is because the moon has almost no true atmosphere. Sunlight is not scattered to create the familiar blue sky we see on Earth. There, daytime can be brilliantly bright beneath your feet, while above your head stretches an endless black void. And then, against that black sky, something appears. A gigantic blue and white sphere suspended in the darkness of space. It is not a star. It is not a distant planet. It is Earth, your home, the place of oceans, atmosphere, white clouds, forests, cities, people, memories, and the entire history of humanity. From the moon, Earth is no longer the ground beneath our feet. It becomes a true celestial body, a blue sphere quietly rotating through space. From Earth, we see the moon as a small, bright disk in the night sky. It can be beautiful, mysterious, romantic, and has inspired poetry, mythology, and history for thousands of years. But if you reverse the perspective, if you stand on the moon and look back at Earth, the sight is far more powerful. Earth is about 4 times the diameter of the moon. As a result, when viewed from the moon, Earth appears about 4 times larger than the moon appears in Earth's sky. It is not a tiny blue dot, nor a faint distant object. It is a large, distinct, vividly colored sphere. You can see the deep blue of the oceans, the white bands of clouds, the golden brown deserts, the dark green forests, and sometimes the icy white of the polar regions. If you had a sufficiently powerful observing instrument, you would see that Earth does not remain still like a painting. It is rotating. Continents slowly drift across your view. Storms form swirling patterns and then dissipate. The boundary between day and night slowly sweeps across oceans and continents. One half of the planet glows beneath sunlight, while the other half sinks into darkness. From the moon, Earth appears to be a world that is breathing, moving, and alive. And that is exactly what makes the view both beautiful and unsettling. Standing on Earth, we often feel that this world is unimaginably vast. Mountains are incredibly high. Oceans are incredibly distant. Cities are immense, and borders stretch endlessly. Human problems sometimes seem to encompass everything, but from the moon, all of those things fit within a single sphere. Every ocean, every continent, every city, every forest, every chapter of history, every war, every peace, every love, every fear, and every hope of humanity exists upon one blue and white sphere suspended in the bottomless blackness of space. From that distance, you cannot see national borders. You cannot see territorial divisions. You cannot see the lines humanity has drawn on maps. You see only one planet, one world, one small green-blue island floating in the dark universe. That perspective alone can change the way people see themselves. Because when we look at Earth from the outside, we realize that our home is not as endless as we once imagined. It is smaller, more fragile, and far lonelier amid the darkness of space. But there is one thing many people easily misunderstand. If you stood on the moon, would you see Earth rise and set just as the moon rises and sets in Earth's sky? The answer is not exactly. If you stood on the moon's near side, the side that always faces Earth, you would see Earth hanging almost motionless in one part of the sky. It would not rise every day in the east, travel across the sky, and set in the west as the moon does from Earth. The reason is that the moon is tidally locked with Earth. Simply put, the moon rotates on its own axis in almost exactly the same amount of time it takes to complete one orbit around Earth. As a result, the same side of the moon always faces our planet. From Earth, we almost always see the same face of the moon. And from that side of the moon, Earth is almost always present in the sky. If you stood near the center of the moon's near side, Earth would hang fairly high in the sky. If you stood near the edge of the near side, Earth might appear lower, closer to the horizon. Of course, Earth is not perfectly motionless. Because of the moon's complex motion, Earth's position in the lunar sky can shift slightly over time. But in general, it does not rise and set every day the way the moon does in Earth's sky. It is like a gigantic blue and white lamp pinned to the black sky. Day after day, month after month, Earth remains there, quietly suspended above a cold, gray world. So what about the famous Earthrise photograph? The sight of Earth rising above the moon's horizon is real, but it is usually seen from spacecraft orbiting the moon or from very special locations near the edge of the region where Earth is visible. As a spacecraft travels around the moon, the horizon below constantly changes, and Earth appears to rise above the gray surface. It became one of the most powerful images in the history of space exploration because for the first time humanity was not merely looking up at the moon from Earth, but looking back at Earth from near the moon. If you leave the moon's near side and travel to the far side, everything changes completely. There, Earth disappears from the sky. There is no longer a blue and white sphere suspended overhead, no reflected light from oceans and clouds, no comforting sense that home is still right before your eyes. You would stand beneath a deep black sky with ancient gray ground below your feet and an entire planet hidden beyond the horizon behind you. It is perhaps one of the most isolated places a human being could imagine within the region of space near Earth. An important point is that the moon's far side is not the dark side in the sense that it is always covered in darkness. That is a very common misunderstanding. The far side still experiences day and night. It is still illuminated by the sun in a regular cycle. It is simply the side that always faces away from Earth. And if you stood there, you would understand the loneliness of space in a very different way. You would not see Earth. You could not communicate directly with Earth. Without a relay satellite, there would be no blue sphere to remind you that home was still there. Only silence, darkness, dust, rock, and an almost absolute feeling of separation. But let us return to the moon's near side, where Earth still hangs in the sky. If you watch long enough, you will notice that Earth also has phases, just as the moon does when viewed from Earth. Sometimes Earth appears full and brilliantly bright. Sometimes it becomes only a thin blue crescent. Sometimes most of the side facing you lies in darkness, leaving only a delicate glowing edge along the atmosphere. When people on Earth see a full moon, someone standing on the moon would look back at Earth and see the side facing them darker. Conversely, when people on Earth see a new moon, someone on the moon would see Earth almost completely full and brilliantly illuminated in the sky. When Earth is full, it is not only beautiful but also bright. Sunlight reflected from Earth's clouds, oceans, ice, and atmosphere can illuminate the lunar surface. This phenomenon is commonly called Earthshine. Imagine standing during the long lunar night. The sun has disappeared, and the landscape around you has sunk into darkness. Yet in the sky, Earth still shines brilliantly like a gigantic blue and white lamp. Its cool light spreads across the impact craters, the mountain ranges, and the gray dust beneath your feet. A silent, lifeless world illuminated by a living one. If you stood there long enough, you would see Earth rotate. You would watch your planet spin through space. Vast oceans would come into view, followed by swirling bands of white clouds, then a continent emerging along the sunlit edge. The boundary between day and night would slowly creep across the surface. On the daytime side, clouds, oceans, and continents would reflect sunlight. On the nighttime side, if you had an observing instrument sensitive enough, you could imagine cities glowing like tiny networks created by humanity, stretching across the surface of a rotating planet. But from that distance, all those lights would still be very small, very fragile, and very easy to lose in the darkness of space. What makes Earth different is not only its size or its color, but its vitality. The moon has almost no weather in the way we know it. There are no drifting clouds, no falling rain, no oceans with crashing waves, no forests swaying in the wind. Earth is the opposite. Earth has an atmosphere, liquid water, clouds, storms, lightning, oceans, and life. From the moon, all of that is gathered into a single view, a living blue planet suspended in the black sky of a dead world. And then there are moments that are even more dramatic. Imagine that one day you are standing on the moon, looking toward Earth, and you notice a small dark spot appear on the planet's surface. At first, it is only a tiny dark point. Then it slowly moves across the oceans, the continents, and the white cloud bands. That is the moon's shadow, the shadow of the very place where you are standing, falling upon Earth. The people beneath that shadow may be witnessing a solar eclipse. Daylight suddenly grows dark, the temperature drops, the birds fall silent. People look up and watch the sun become obscured. But from the moon, you witness the entire phenomenon in a completely different way. You see the moon's shadow sweeping across Earth like a stain of black ink crawling over the blue sphere. The same event, yet two entirely different perspectives. From Earth, it is a solar eclipse. From the moon, it is the moment when the shadow of the world you are standing on touches your home. And that is what makes such a familiar phenomenon become so much more magnificent. Because from that perspective, you do not merely see the sky grow dark. You see an entire planet being brushed by the moon's shadow. When a lunar eclipse occurs, the view from the moon becomes dramatic in another way. From Earth, we see the moon gradually darken before turning copper red, orange red, or deep crimson. Many people call it a blood moon. But if you were standing on the moon during a lunar eclipse, you would not see the moon turn red the way people on Earth do. Instead, you would see Earth blocking the sun. A gigantic black sphere would stand before the brilliant solar disk. But Earth would not be completely black. Around the edge of the planet, Earth's atmosphere would glow as a thin orange-red ring. That is sunlight bent and filtered through Earth's atmosphere. In other words, from the moon during a total lunar eclipse, you would be seeing every sunrise and every sunset on Earth gathered together into one thin ring of fire surrounding the planet. It is a sight that is both beautiful and terrifying. Beautiful because it is brilliant and rare. Terrifying because it reveals just how thin the atmosphere protecting Earth truly is. From the ground, the sky appears immense, but from the moon, Earth's atmosphere is only a very thin, glowing rim surrounding the planet. A layer so unbelievably thin, yet it is what allows us to breathe, allows liquid water to exist, regulates temperature, and provides some protection from the harshness of space. From the moon, Earth is beautiful not because it looks powerful like a fortress, but because it is fragile like a jewel drifting through the darkness. Perhaps that is why the sight of Earth from the moon carries such extraordinary power. Human beings traveled to the moon to explore another world, yet what moved them most deeply was Earth itself, the home they had just left behind. At that distance, Earth is no longer a place of individual problems, no longer a place divided by maps, no longer a place of boundaries drawn by humanity. It is one planet, one world, one place in the universe where we know with certainty that there are blue oceans, rain, forests, voices, memories, and life. If one day you truly stood on the moon and looked back at Earth, you would probably remain silent for a very long time. Not because you would have nothing to say, but because the sight would be too vast for words. You would see the cold, gray lunar surface beneath your feet, your own shadow stretching across the ancient dust, the bottomless black sky above you, and there, suspended in the silent emptiness, Earth hanging like a blue and white jewel. There is everything there. There is rain falling upon rooftops, rivers flowing through cities, wind blowing through forests, lights shining in the night, people waking up, people sleeping, people loving, waiting, and hoping. All of it exists within one small sphere before your eyes. And the longer you look, the more you realize one thing. We do not live on an endless world. We live on a planet that is very small, very beautiful, and very vulnerable. A planet drifting through the vast universe, a giant blue ship with no second copy, no easy replacement, no backup planet waiting beside it. From the moon, Earth is not merely a planet, it is home. Perhaps only after leaving Earth for long enough do human beings truly understand the value of the place where they live. Because in the absolute silence of the moon, between the black sky and the cold gray ground, you would realize a truth that is both beautiful and terrifying. In this vast universe, Earth is not the center of everything, but to us, it is everything. If one day you stood on the moon, looking at that blue sphere suspended in the darkness, you would probably never look at the night sky the same way again, because by then you would have seen home from the outside. Small, fragile, radiant, and astonishingly lonely amid the darkness of the universe. If you found this video helpful and would like to continue exploring the fascinating mysteries of Earth, the moon, and the vast universe together, please press like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the upcoming videos. Every bit of your support will be a tremendous motivation for the channel to continue creating scientific content that is engaging, easy to understand, and of even higher quality. Thank you for watching, and see you again on the next journeys of exploring the universe.